I'm here today with Steve Ellis, otherwise known as Nipper. So first question, can we start with how you got the name Nipper?
When I was in Nick with Pat in 1990, it was 1990, crikey. Was it 1990? Yeah, it was 1990, yeah. Basically, he got the spy holes in the cell doors, and his little joke was that there was a nose appeared at the door of the spy hole going, "What do I do for arms, Pat? What do I do for arms?" So because I had a bit of trouble looking at the spy hole, he used to call me Nipper, because I was so short. Although I think he got it wrong.
So do you like to still go by the name of Nipper, or do you just prefer to erase that and just go by Steve now?
Don't care. All depends how it's said, doesn't it? You can say like wanker, or you can go you wanker. So as long as it's nice, said nicely, then I'm happy with that. Respectfully.
Sorry.
Go on, now can do it, just carry on.
Should I ask you the question? Do you want me to ask you?
Start again. Right, so we've got some questions here from the Facebook group Essex Boys The Truth, Nothing But The Truth, by the author Jason Townsend. So the first question asked is from Jim Ward. Should you do a lie detector test? Or even would you do a lie detector test?
Yeah, I'll do a lie detector test, but it all depends what you're going to ask me. So I'm quite happy to do one, I've got nothing to hide.
And following that question is, do you actually know who killed them?
Yes. Yeah, we're talking about Pat, Tony and Craig, obviously.
Yes, obviously.
Yeah, I know who killed them.
Okay. Did Tony, Pat and Craig ever get set about and lose?
Individually, I heard another story where Pat, there was a guy called Mick McCarthy. Well, there is a guy called Mick McCarthy. He's just been shot and he's crippled now. But years ago, there was a bit of bad blood between them two. And one day, they happened to be in the same place. Words were exchanged, and Pat said to Mick, "It's about time someone taught you a lesson, McCarthy." So they went outside, and there was one punch thrown, and basically Pat was spun a couple of times before he fell on. He was unconscious before he hit the deck. His jaw was smashed to pieces. Until the day he died, he still had it held together with bands. So Mick threw one punch, Pat was out. Another time, I've heard a few stories of Tony getting bashed up. Tony was a piece of shit, he was a bully. Pat wasn't so much of a bully in the old days. And then together, I don't know, there was a row once we had outside Stringfellas, not Stringfellas, sorry, that's a lie. Churchill's in Southend. There was 3 doormen there. There was me, Pat and Tony. We didn't really lose, but that's the only fight I sort of know that they had when they were together. There might be times, obviously, after I fell out with them, that they had rows, but Tony wasn't that good. Pat was, he was a fight, but he weren't nothing special. I wouldn't want to fight him.
A question from Roy Vincent. How many of you was there in the area of the murders on the night that they all died?
There was three in the Range Rover, definitely. There was someone who was with them. There was someone who shot them. That's about all I can think of. There was someone who was with them in the Range Rover, right? And there was someone waiting.
Right, question from Richard Child. In the days leading up to the murders, were you made aware of any reason why Steele and Holmes would want to kill Tony, Pat and Craig?
No, but I was living down in Swanage then, so I was out of touch with what was going on. After I shot Pat the first time, it really sort of finished our relationship, our friendship. We didn't stay in touch much. So after I got out from shooting him, I moved down to Dorset, Swanage, and I wasn't in touch with anybody. So I was in touch with my family and a couple of friends, but nothing to do with Pat, Tony and Craig. So I had to get out of town.
Our next question is from Liam Johnson. What was it like to be around Tony, Pat and Craig? Lovely or evil?
Well, when I met Pat, we was in Nick in 1990. He was a proper bodybuilder, and I used to just do biceps, and chest all the time, so I knew just curls, bench press, loads of that. And Pat was a proper bodybuilder, so he taught me how to train. So we became friends. He was a really nice guy. Everyone who knew Pat said he was a really nice guy. He was just, there was nothing bad, not bad bone in his body. Not from what I see, But then years later, when he got out, he came to live with me. I had a place in Lee, and he got on. We done we earned some money, and one night he was out, he met Tony. They knew of each other, right? And in the end they got talking this particular night. And they started doing gear, started doing drugs. And it changed Pat. Tony, from what I knew of what I'd heard, he was always a bully and a piece of shit. But Tony was clever. He was very manipulative, made you feel like he was your best mate, made you feel good about yourself, like you had a good friend you can trust. Whereas Pat was really a good friend. Then it started going south, and I remember Pat said to me one day, he said, Tony's jealous of our friendship. And I didn't really understand what he was talking about. But then he did. Tony slowly turned Pat against me. We wasn't getting on, we wasn't the friends that we were. And Tony sort of said, because we used to earn good money, and Tony knew about it. Pat told him about some of the things we'd done. So Tony was always money orientated. That was it. He lived for money. And I think he wanted to get in on it. So as well as being jealous of our friendship, he wanted to get Pat on his side so Tony could get involved with Pat earning the money. So Pat and I had good friendship. That was good times. When Tony got involved, it became bad. And all of a sudden it was just crazy. Just crazy.
A question from Heath Mayfield. You had every right to want them dead and was capable of doing so, but was the killer or killers friends with your father?
Friends with me or my dad, yeah, yes.
Next question from Nikki Dabble. Have the murderers' names ever been mentioned in the press? If not, Jack Holmes or Mickey Steele?
The murderers' names, as far as I know, has never been mentioned. Mickey Steele and Jack Holmes had nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. I don't know where they were on that night, but I know they wasn't in the Rettendon area where the Range Rover was. I know who was, and they definitely weren't frigging there.
Next question. Do you have any idea how many people could be accused of killing Tucker, Tate and Rolfe?
Whoever met them. Anyone who met them probably... after they went bandy on drugs, anyone who probably had any sort of dealings with them would probably want to kill them.
So whoever killed them are still at large, is that correct?
We talk about that later.
The majority didn't believe the evidence was enough to put Jack and Mick behind bars. Surely a few of the other people knew they were going to do a meet that night, and with who?
There's no reason to put Mick... It was a complete stitch-up where Mick and Jack got banged up for it. They had nothing to do with it. It was because some silly little wannabe drug dealer got nicked, and he couldn't do a bit of bird, that he had to deal with the old bill. I won't go into that now. I can talk about it some other time, but it goes deep. But they had nothing to do with it. It's just totally wrong.
Next question from Richard Child. In the past, you've stated that the wrong men have been convicted. How do you know this?
Because I know who was there that night. I know they had nothing to do with it.
Did you ever give these details to the police and try and get them released?
I was willing to stand up in court and swear black was blue. I spoke to Mick and Jack's solicitor, obviously before they went to trial, and I said, look, I'm happy to stand up in court and swear black was blue. I did it. Because I know who did it, and I know they didn't have anything to do with it. But I was quite happy to stand up in court and say that, and the solicitor, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. I went, why not? I said, you've got two guys going on trial for something they've never done. I said, let me stand up there and do that. And if I had, what's the worst they're going to do? Charge me with it? Fine, then you've got to prove it. But I could have quite happily stood up there and said that I'd done it. Because I'd love to have killed them. I'd love to have killed them. Pieces of shit, and they didn't suffer, I tell you.
Next question from Sean McKenzie Jr. How did you deal with the fact Tony, Pat and Craig wanted to kill you? It seemed to be 3-on-1. Must have been scary.
It was more anger. It was Yeah, it was more anger that Pat doubted me, more anger that more anger. It's just fucked up. It was more anger at what they was what they threatened to do to my family. But I didn't care. I lived to die. I lived to kill them. I lived to kill them. You can only push someone so far, can't you? You get so angry, and then the anger or the fear turns to anger, and the anger, you get into a fight, the fear goes, the anger takes over, or the adrenaline takes over. There was no fear anymore. It was just anger that I couldn't do what I had to do. And I got nicked before I could do it.
Next question from DJ Johnny B. Who was the maddest of the three? Pat, Tony or Craig?
Craig was nothing. Craig was Tony's little gopher. Mad? It all depends in mad in what way. Mad cuckoo or mad funny? Mad like want to go out and have a row? Pat, like I say, Pat wasn't, from what I know of him and what I knew of him, he wasn't a horrible piece of shit. Whereas from what I've only ever heard of Tony, he was just a nasty piece. I'm shaking with anger, I tell you. Freaking.
Let's move on to the next question. This question's from Daniel Bell. Pat stayed with you for a short while. Is that true?
Yes.
Next question from Sean Garrett. Do you think they would have turned on you if it wasn't for all the drugs they'd taken?
From when I look back, and like I said, Pat said to me one day, Tony's jealous of our friendship. But like I said, Tony made me feel good. I thought I had a good friend there. Until one day I confronted him over something, or one night I confronted him over something. And it just all went. It was Tony, from what I now know, it was Tony's jealousy that fueled the problems that started, and the drugs just fucked Pat up, changed him. I know I had a problem with coke. I was a major cokehead, and it changed me. But Pat wasn't just doing coke; they was doing crack, which is a form of coke. Then there was a lot of ketamine being used. There was, in the end, apparently I heard they was on heroin as well. But Pat's mind got, he's, like I said, drugs changer. And Tony, being a manipulative, clever man that he was, he made me feel good about myself, and he probably did the same to Pat, and he turned Pat against me. And when it all went pear-shaped, Pat was talking to me, doubting our friendship because of what Tony had told him. Sorry, what was the question?
That's pretty hard to answer it.
Yeah.
Next question from Mark John. Who out of the three did you get on with the best?
Pat.
Next question from Jason Townsend. What is your true opinion of Bernard O'Mahony, and is the book being made into a movie?
My opinion of Bernie, we've never been friends. No, I've never been friends with him. He's got himself a nice little niche in the market where he's made some money and some films and some books out of this, but he's been flogged to death, in my opinion. When you say the book, I presume you mean the book that Bernie and I wrote. Or I told Bernie, who'd been on me for years, to write a book. Got sick and tired of hearing all these different stories, so I said, fine, we'll write a book. So we sat down, we had quite a few interviews, discussions, whatever you want to call it. He wrote the book. I started reading the book, and there was things in it. I only read, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 chapters. And I read about where I fold my teeth down. There was all blood and bits of teeth and whatever. It wasn't. It hurt. Yeah, but when it stopped so much, I stopped. How stupid am I? I'm not going to keep on filing my teeth down when it really hurts. I'm not that stupid, am I? There was a couple other things I didn't think were right in the book. So I phoned Bernie up and said, that's not right, this is not right, I don't want that in it. I said, the idea of the book is to tell the truth. He went, yeah, but that's what the readers want. And I said, no, Bernie, I don't want it in there. So he said, yeah, we're going to put it in there. I said, no. I said, I want the book pulled. I don't want So he said, well, if you don't want it going out, you've got to pay the money back. They gave me £7,000 for the book, I think it was. And he said, well, you've got to pay the money back. So I ain't got the money, I spent it. So he said, well, the book's going to be published. So I don't know what's in the book. People who buy it or read it, whatever, hear about it. If there's anything they want me to answer, fine, I'll answer it. I haven't got a problem with that. But what's in there, I don't know. So, hope that answers the question.
Next question from Nigel Martin. If we were to believe that you and Bernard O'Mahony took out Tate, Tucker and Rolfe, how would this timeline of events work out in the theories?
I didn't know anyone had said that Bernie and I had taken out Pat, Tony and Craig. Bernie had nothing to do with the murders. He knows nothing about the murders, right? He might have spoke to, how can I say, one of the brothers of them who've been charged. There was Mickey Steele and Jack Wones who got done for the murders, right? John Wones, who has become a friend of mine, and I know John and Bernard were friends years ago. They've had a few problems and not so much good friends now. But so when you get charged with something, it's called advanced disclosure. The police give you all the evidence of the crime. So when it goes to court, you can say, right, in regards to this, I got that answer. In regards to this, I got that answer. So whatever the police gave to Mickey Steele and Jack Wones and their defence in regards to the murders, John would have known about it. He would have told Bernie. But what actually happened on the night, none of them will know. The police might be able to put it together, but I don't know if they ever have done. But nobody knows what happened in the murder. I know what happened because I know I was there. The person who shot them knew what was happened, and there was another person there, right? They knew what happened, right? But as for Bernie, he knows nothing about the murders. He only would know what John might have told him that they got from the police. But he don't know, as far as I know, he doesn't know who killed them. Well, he definitely don't know who killed them. So Bernie had nothing to do with the murders. I unfortunately had nothing to do with the murders, but I know who did it, and I know what happened. Do I rattle on too much? Do I talk too much? Do I talk too much?
Right, next question's from Paul Vickers. How close were Bernard and Colton to the firm?
When I met Tony had the door he had quite a few doors. I think he had over 120 doormen.
Just going back to that question, I think what I mean by the firm is the firm as in Pat, Tony.
What, Pat, Tony and Craig?
Yeah.
Who, as far as I know...
They call them the firm, don't they?
Yeah, and Essex boys. As far as I knew, they never thought of themselves as a firm. Like I say, Pat and Tony knew of each other. One night, Pat's come back and said, oh yeah, I met Tony, he's a really good guy, blah, blah, blah. And then a couple of days later, I went up to meet him, and I met Colton the same night. We went to the Rettendon Country Club. And it was just little... Pat and I had our little criminal empire. Tony had his set of doormen and his drug dealing and whatever else he did. And, we just sort of became friends. And then they got involved in doing drugs, and like birds of a feather, they stuck together, carried on doing the drugs, and I was sort of pushed out of the way. Because Pat and I had got a lot of money from some of our business empire, and he started doing a lot more drugs. And Tony introduced him to doing crack, and I was there the first time Tony injected him with cocaine, and I just walked out. Never stuck a needle in myself to get high. Done it for steroids, obviously, but you put a needle in yourself, you cross a line. And I just walked out, and Pat said to me the next day, he said, I could see the look of disgust on your face. I'm like, yeah, why you got to do that shit? So, but Tony manipulated Pat, like I say. And there was no firm that I'm aware of. Maybe they were after I fell out with them, because I fell out with them, when did I get done? I got done for shooting Pat, I think in December. I got nicked, whatever. Maybe after that, like I say, we weren't really good friends after that. Maybe then they thought it was a firm, but I never heard of it.
Next question's from John Shaw. Did your dad know anyone heavy enough to get a hit done on them?
My old man used to be a criminal himself, but I don't think so, no.
Next question from Paul Hearn. Who was pulling all the strings, Tucker or Tate?
In regards to?
I don't know. as in?
I mean, like I say, Tony was manipulative, he was clever, he made you feel good about yourself, or he made me feel good about myself. And like I say, when Pat introduced me to him, he said, he's a really good guy, he's this, he's that, blah, blah, blah. So he would have obviously had the same effect on Pat. Pat wasn't, even though we fell out, how can I explain it? He was a good guy. From when I met him, Pat, I knew Pat for over 5 years. When we met in Nick, he was well respected in there, well thought of. Although I've heard stories since that when he went to another Nick, he got into a tear up because somebody called him a grass. But from all the people that I knew before Pat turned, they were good respect for him. Always a good word for him, always respected him. Whereas Tony, I don't know anyone who had a good word for him. One guy I knew had a good word for him. But he'd known him, he was a head doorman for another club. I won't say his name. But from what I know, when I spoke to this guy and Tony was there, obviously he said good things about him. Maybe he thought he was a piece of shit. But I don't know anyone who thought Tony was a good guy.
Okay, next question from Lee Hayworth. What went through your head when you shot at Pat Tate and the gun didn't fire at first?
Well, all I knew was I think it was 5 or 6. It was a revolver, so it had 5 or 6 shots in it. I knew what I had to do. I put the window through so I could see, because where Pat was in the bungalow, that was him and Sarah's bungalow, and his son Jordan was there. Jordan would have been only about a year by then. So I smashed the window. I sort of went into like a road, just went into the mode of what I had to do. So I smashed the window to make sure I'd just see Pat. I could only shoot Pat. Put the gun up, and I just knew I had to keep pulling the trigger. So I was pulling the trigger. He's run out of the bathroom. So the bathroom was like L-shaped. So he's run out of the bathroom, and he runs to the next window. Because I've been in the bungalow, I knew the set out of the bungalow. So he's run to the next window, which was the kitchen. So I've run to the kitchen, lifted up the gun again, but he's seen me, screamed. He was screaming anyway because he'd been shot, and it must have hurt. Or it did hurt. So he's then run out of the kitchen before I could take a shot, and he's run down the passage. Like I say, I knew the layout of the bungalow. So I've run down the side of the bungalow, thinking he was going to come out the front door. So I just stood there with the gun, waiting for it to come out. And all of a sudden I've heard, police, I've been shot. So obviously he got on the phone. So I just ran off, buggered off. So what went through my mind? Nothing. But it was later, when I got back, I looked at the gun, and I see 2 of the bullets, the percussion caps have been, on the centre of a bullet, and the percussion cap's what makes it fire. They'd been dented. So it turned out the gun had a fault with the trigger. It wasn't actually a trigger, it was hit a bit of metal plate, it was on a pivot, and that hit the bullet. But the nipple on the bit of plate was worn.
It wasn't going in far enough to...
Yeah, to ignite. So it was the 3rd bullet that went. So when I put the gun up, all I knew was I had to just keep firing. That's all I went into. So I was obviously going bang, it was going click, click. The 3rd one hit me in the arm. He said he put his arm out the window, see the gun, and put his arm up, and that's how he got hit in the arm. It wasn't. He was running away, for some reason. As he ran out the door, because like I say, it was L-shaped, he's gone sideways, so the bullet smashed into his arm. So while he was busy screaming and running, I was then going to the next window to shoot him. Just knew I had to shoot him, but it wasn't only when I got home and I looked at the bullets, I then realised what had happened. Like, it didn't misfire, it just didn't have the...
It hadn't penetrated through.
Yeah, and it hit the percussion cap hard enough.
Next question's from Matt Curtis. What shotgun did you use to shoot Pat Tate, and why did it keep misfiring?
It wasn't a shotgun, it was a handgun, it was a revolver. And that was the same one that I tried to shoot Tony and Craig with, that I had the same problem. But a shotgun, they didn't catch me with a shotgun.
Next question's from Dan Tate. Was it your Sierra Cosworth that was seen by the lanes days before the shootings?
I never had a Sierra Cosworth.
Another question from the same guy, Dan Tate.
Any relations, Pat?
Couldn't tell you, mate.
Just be interesting, I might change my answer a bit.
Out of all the films made, which one is the most factual?
I've never seen the films. I don't read the... Like I say, I've not even read my book. I don't read the books, I don't watch the films. It just doesn't interest me. I will tell... If people ask me, I'll tell them what I know. So like I say, it just goes on and on and on, all these films. You know, that was the story. 3 guys, 3 pieces of shit, 3 bullies, got shot in the Range Rover in the Rettendon Turnpike. So how many stories do we need?
Next question from James Meek. Did you really ask Carlton Leach to kill you?
Yes. When what happened? Yeah, right, okay. When they threatened my family, before I moved my family out, I was basically going from my mum's to my sisters, to my dad's, to Tony's, to Pat's, to Craig's, to mine, to my sisters, to Pat's, to Tony's, to my mum's, trying to hunt them down. And I wasn't sleeping. I spent my nights driving around trying to find them. And I phoned Carlton up. I was crying. Couldn't hack it. And I phoned Carlton up and said, Carlton, I can't do this. I need you. I can't remember word for word, but I basically said, I can't do it. Can you shoot me in the head? And he went, why? So I said, 'cause they're on my family. And so he said he didn't agree with it. He said he was going to stop it or do what he could. I can't remember if then my family were in the hotels. I got them out of town, put them in the hotels. I think I might have done. And I went to see all my family, said goodbye. Because I had to go out and die. I had to go out and kill them to get them to leave my family alone. So yeah, I asked Carlton. He said he wouldn't do it. And I can't remember what happened. It's all pretty screwed up.
Next question from Meek Brealey. When you took a shot at Pat Tate, where was he?
He was in front of me. He was in the bathroom. And like I say, I smashed the window. You couldn't miss Pat, he was massive. He was a big frigging lump. And he was in the bathroom, it was all lit up, so I could see the shape of him. But I wasn't sure if Sarah was there or if his little baby Jordan, his son. So that's why I smashed the window and he was right in front of me. I just put the gun up. And like I say, I just went into whatever mode it was I went into. Survival mode, frigging suicidal mode. Just put the gun up, kept pulling the trigger. And sorry. Just enjoying the moment, I'm reliving it. Oh, his scream.
Next question from Stuart Bannon. Did you take a shot at Tony Tucker and Craig Rolfe?
Yes. I took a couple of shots. So, I said I was driving around from my dad's to Tony's to Pat's to Craig's to Tony's to mine to my sister's. One day I was driving past mine, and at the back of that houses there was you had your alleyway, a massive alleyway that obviously separated all the back gardens. So as I was driving up the road, I've looked down the alley and I see Tony and Craig walking up the alley. So I phoned up someone. I said, "Get the pump down here. I need the pump action shotgun." So however long later they came down, probably 20 minutes, half hour. And with the pump, what I used to do was I had a bit of string. Whether I got it out of Terminator or not, I don't know. But I had the pump, sawn-off pump, and I had it down by my shoulder. I had it put into my shoulder, and it was hanging down. So I started walking up the alley, and I heard this banging, which I didn't know what it was. I just heard this smashing. So I'm walking up the alley, and like I say, so the alley went between two lots of back gardens, lots on the left, lots on the right, and everyone's fence, their back garden fence, jutted out. So as I'm walking up the alley, I've got the handgun with me, and I've got the pump action. And I'm just doing whatever I was doing. I don't know whatever I was thinking. I was just going up there. I thought, I'm going to kill him. So I'm walking up the alleyway, and there's this banging. Just all of a sudden, the banging stopped. And Tony and Craig have walked out from behind what was my fence. So as they've walked out, I've just for whatever reason, I've run behind another fence. I was 20 odd feet away, maybe 30 feet away. And Tony's gone to me, "Nipper." I went, "Fucking Nipper." Held up the gun and pulled the trigger. But it didn't fire. So I've looked at the gun, and as I'm looking at the gun, I've looked up Craig's. Oh, they're carrying on my motorbike. I had a motorbike with all the levers and the helmets. So Craig's run behind a fence on the right-hand side, whereas I live on the left-hand side as I looked at it. So I've seen Craig run, and I've seen Tony on the floor going, "Oh, oh." He was crouched down going, "Oh, oh, oh," like that. So with me, he's then looked up and seen me looking at the gun. So he stood up and he went, I'm going to do you for that, Nipper. I went, you are you? Pointed the gun and pulled the trigger again. Where the bullet went, I don't know. But it fired. With that, they started running. So I dropped the handgun, I threw it down, pulled out the pump, and I was chasing them up the alley. And I was pulling the trigger on the pump. Just kept pulling it. All of a sudden, I've come running out of the alley after them, and it come out to where a school was, like, and the mums were collecting all the kids from the school. So I just, stopped. They went boing, 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 running off down the road. I put the pump back down, walked back down the alley, and one of the neighbours was looking out the window. Obviously heard the gun go off. So I picked the handgun up, walked down the alley and went. But it was the same problem, you know. I said, like, the bullet that didn't hit the percussion cap hard enough. So when I went back afterwards, there was another dent in one of the bullets. So I only took one shot at them. And the reason the pump action didn't go off, I wasn't ready. I had the safety catch on. So where I was going, trying to pull the trigger on the pump action, because I hadn't taken the safety catch off, which is really good, because obviously you think when I come out the alley, there was mums and kids everywhere. Although hopefully the bullets would have got, or the lead would have got them, it didn't. So the question was, did I take a shot? Yes, I did.
Right, next question. When Pat Tate was sent back to prison because of his gun found under his pillow in the hospital bed, did you ever have any attempted hits on your life?
First of all, that was my gun he got caught with. We'd used it on a job, and somebody was looking after it for me. But they give it to him. So after I'd shot him, he was in hospital, and the gun got given to him because he said how he needed protection from me, because apparently I was really bad. Well, Tony and Craig, after I said after I took a shot at Tony and Craig, they ran off. Yeah. Well, it turns out from there, Tony and Craig went up to the hospital. Walked into the ward, went, Tony walked in, Nipper just tried to shoot us. Sarah, who was Pat's girlfriend, was there. So she phoned me up and said, Tony and Craig have just been up to the hospital. She said to me, don't tell Pat, because she knew that she'd get in trouble with Pat. She told me that Pat and Tony walked in, because she was sitting there visiting Pat, obviously. She said Tony and Craig walked in, Tony giving it Billy Big Bananas, Nipper just tried to shoot us. So I knew that Tony and Craig was going to visit Pat. So that night, or one of the nights later, I was hanging around outside the hospital, waiting for Tony and Craig to turn up. So I was just going to walk up to him with a pump, just shoot them. And there was a guy walked up to me and went, fucking hell, Steve, what are you doing here? I went, taka! Pulled out the pump action. He went, you crazy sod, old Bill looking for you everywhere. Tony's and Craig have grassed you up for trying to shoot him. Pat's grassed you up for shooting him. Armed old Bill looking for you. And he said, and Tony's put another hit out on you. So there was, from what I knew of, 2 hits out on me. Because those gutless sods couldn't do it themselves. I've gone off course again, haven't I? I've sort of answered the question a bit too much. So anyway, basically he said to me, get the hell out of here, there's armed old Bill. There was armed old Bill with Pat, because they'd found the gun. A nurse making up his bed had found the gun, my revolver. So he was now arrested with armed old Bill there. And like I say, I didn't know none of this. I was just waiting for Tony and Craig to go up to the hospital, so I was going to basically shoot them in the hospital. And so I got told that, so obviously I buggered off.
Right, next question from Darren Whiteley. Have you ever had any dealings or meetings with the Blundells during or after the shootings?
No, the only time I met Billy Blundell was when there was a programme, documentary, where I went up to his gym up in wherever it was. I can't think where it was. Someone up there, and he was up there, and we just had a chat. So.
Next question from Nigel Martin. Have you ever moved on from the accusations of being involved in the shootings? Plus, do you still look back and remember the good times you had with them?
Yeah, good times shooting them, yeah, they were great times. Have I moved on? I still wish to this day, no, I don't wish to this day, that's a lie. Last few years I've had a good life with my girlfriend, I'm very lucky there. But before then, I still probably every day regretted that I couldn't stand there and say it was me who shot them, because I was going to take my time. I had other plans for them that would have involved them being killed, obviously. So I sort of still regretted it wasn't me who could say it was me who did it. Not because I wanted the glory, but I wanted the pleasure. I wanted to talk. I was going to torture them as much as I could before I finally killed them. And what was the second part of the question, sorry?
Do you still look back and remember the good times you had with them?
Missed the money. I missed the money that Pat and I used to earn. We earned some good money. And Pat and I had some good times up until really a couple of months after Tony got involved with us as so-called friend. So the money, Mr. Money, love money.
Next question from Thomas Briggs. Do you think that the truth will ever be told about what went on that night?
I'm happy to tell it. I'm happy to tell the truth. Whether people believe it or not, I don't know.
Following on from that, do you think Ricky Percival will be another Jack Holmes and end up doing all of his life without having his name cleared?
I hope not. I know that Damon Alvin, I know what Damon Alvin's done that I was never allowed to tell in court. I was going to be a witness for Ricky when he went to trial, but because I've been done for drugs, I've been done for guns and various other things, they didn't really want me going up and being a witness for him. Whereas, what's it matter, he's innocent. I know what day, the day before, on the day that the Trettons got shot, which was a good friend of mine, Malcolm Walsh, got killed by I don't know his name. I think he was a Tretton. I think he was a Tretton. Well, later on, Malcolm got killed by the father of the Trettons, right? Well, a year later to the day after Malcolm got killed, he got stabbed to death, Malcolm. A year later today, I was staying with Bernie, who was Malcolm's ex-wife. I had nowhere to live. I'd come back to town because my dad was ill. And Damon Alvin pulled up. It was a close. Damon Alvin's pulled up in the close. And because his brother lived next door to Bernie. So I've come out and I was talking to Damon. Damon and I used to be good mates. And so I've come out and Damon's turned around to me and he said, we're going to get the Trettons tonight. As he said, we're going to get the Trettons, he's pointing back to Dean. Dean was sitting in Damon's car. This was Dean Bushell, the guy who got killed, right? So I said, leave it. I said, just freaking leave it, Damon, it's pointless. He went, no, he said, we're going to get him. I said, oh, whatever, so I walked off. Well, later that night, 2 people kicked in the door of the Trettons with a shotgun, fired the shotgun, right? One of the Trettons lost some fingers, another one got hit as well. I can't remember, before the shotgun, whatever it did, I don't know. Well, a couple of months later, when I was talking to Damon, we'd had some couple of lines and we was bunnying. And I said to him I found a piece of paper that I used to have a nice BMW with the number plate 5SE, 5 Stephen Ellis. I found a piece of paper that somebody wrote in it. It was either Pat, Tony or Craig. Sold to Craig Rolf, one white BMW 535 Alpina with a registration 5SE for, I think he said £12,000. Number plate to be retained on the vehicle. So it was like a bill of sale for my BM with the plate. Damon turned around to me and went, it's a good thing that Dean didn't write a letter that day saying, I'm meeting Damon in the allotments tonight. So in this, Damon was saying Dean was meeting him in the allotments. Didn't say anything about Ricky. It said he was meeting Dean. He was meeting Damon. Damon and I spoke about it, but he didn't deny it. He liked it. Damon liked the fact that he thought he was a bit of a gangster. And he always used to go about double tap, 2 in the head. He was always going about that was, a double tap. Turns out Dean had a couple in the back of his head. Don't know if it's 2 or 3 now, but what was it about Damon Avon? Ricky Percival. Ricky didn't do it. I can't say for sure who was there that night, but I know Damon was there the night Dean Bushell got killed. I know Damon was there. I don't know if Dean Bushell was there. I know Dean Bushell was there because he got a couple of bullets in his head. I know Damon was there. I don't know if anyone else was there, but I know Damon had told me he was going to get him. He was going to get the Trettons. Sorry, I'm mixing up 2 stories there. Damon told me that he was going to get the Trettons. referring to Dean as well, right? And then Damon, that was it. Damon told me about the note, that it's a good thing Dean didn't write a note. And I remember him saying to me, "Oh, Dean's been offered the old build. The getaway car from the Trettons had been found, and it had Dean's fingerprints in it. So the old bill of this is what Damon told me. Right, sorry if I'm rattling on. Right, it's all relevant. Damon told me Dean had been approached by the old bill. They found the getaway car. In it was Dean's fingerprints. So the old bill would turn around to Dean, pulled him in, said, "We know you drove the getaway car that night. Tell us who did the shootings at the Trettons." Dean didn't say anything. He went back to Damon and told Damon. Fine. So anyway, a couple of weeks later, this is what Damon told me. Okay, a couple of weeks later, the old bill pulled Dean in again, and they said, "We know you shot him. Tell us who did it. You get immunity, and we give you what, new life and some money or something." Damon said to me, he said he's frightened that Dean's going to grass. He said he's been offered this by the old bill. He's been offered that by the old bill. So I said, "Whatever. Yeah, fine. Okay, your problem, not mine." And then a couple of weeks later, Dean gets his head blown off in the allotments. And like I say, then I'm talking to Damon however long afterwards, and he said to me, "Good thing Dean didn't write a statement or write on a bit of paper, I'm meeting Damon down the allotments tonight." So I knew for a fact that Damon was going to get the Trettons a year after Malcolm's death. I knew for a fact that Damon was worried Dean was going to grass because he'd been approached by the old bill. And Damon also told me, it's after I told him about that receipt for the sale of my car, which never went, but it's a good thing that Dean didn't write a letter saying, "I'm meeting Damon down the allotments tonight," which infers basically Damon met Dean down the allotments and stuck to it in his nut.
Next question by Craig O'Brien. Did you kill them, or have they got the right men in prison?
No, unfortunately I did not kill them, referring to Pat, Tony and Craig. And no, they haven't got the right people in prison. The people in prison, they are innocent. They didn't do it.
Okay, next question from Helen Statham. Did Jack Holmes or Mickey Steele pull the trigger on that night? Yes or no?
No.
Right, next question from Jason Moffat from Brighton. Have you ever spoken to the police regarding the truth of what happened on the night of the murders to try and prove Mick and Jack's innocence?
No, when they got shot, the police came to see me, just to interview me, obviously, and obviously I didn't tell them. Then after that, there was just there was a hit out on my life, so they came back to take me into protective custody. They came back 2 or 3 days later. Essex Police, the murder squad, came back 2 or 3 days later, arranged to meet me in Bournemouth Police Station. When I got there, it turns out they wanted to take me into protective custody because there was a hit out on my life now to go with the other hit, in regards because people thought I'd killed them. So I had a chat with them again, but they wasn't. I'll tell you what, a friend of mine who's a tattoo artist in Southend, Shamanics, great place to go in Southend if ever you want a tattoo, right? A friend of mine was tattooing this bloke. So the guy's saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a copper, I do this, I do that," and my mate's, bloody old Bill. So anyway, he said to him, "Do you know my mate Stevie Ellis?" So the copper said, "Blinding little bloke, shame he was too short to shoot Pat through the window the first time," right? Which I think is a bit of an insult, saying I was too short. It ain't my fault the gun didn't fire properly. But then he's turned around and he said, "I tell you now, when they got murdered, Essex Police Headquarters had a party." This is what the copper said to my mate, all right? He said the police partied. They were hated. They was hated all over Essex and probably further and beyond. So the police didn't care, right? When I got nicked for shooting Pat, the first time obviously, I had the 2 old Bill nicked me. They said, "We know you shot him, but we don't care. We're just doing our job, right? But if the gun comes back and ballistics proves it, we're going to nick you. It's just for doing our job." When I was sitting in the cell, I probably had 5 or 6 old Bill come up to me, knock on the cell door. "Good on you, Ellis. Nice one, Ellis. Well done." One of the coppers said, "Why didn't you use an elephant gun on them scum?" Right? He didn't use scum. He used another word, but I won't say what the word was. They were hated. Even the old Bill hated them. So even if I could have turned around to the police, even if they'd asked me to, they weren't interested. They really were not interested from what I got from what the police were telling me. So did I ever talk to them? I spoke to them, but I didn't tell them who'd done it.
So next question. Do you think this was a police hit or were the police involved some way?
I know for a fact the person who pulled the trigger that night was not a copper. So as far as I know, the police were not involved. And like I said, the police, the impression I got, the police were not interested. They just had to do what their job is. Someone said, oh, I'll tell you who killed Pat, Tony and Craig, or they was lying, so they've had to follow it through. And I've heard the amount of balls-ups Darren Nichols made in his statements. They had to keep questioning him, telling him what he's got to say, because he was under protection. And even some of the people he was under protection with, I've heard, have turned around and said he didn't know what he was talking about. But that's another story. If John Williams can tell you all about that.
Right, final question. This is a question everyone wants to know. Who killed Pat, Tony and Craig?
My dad. I'll tell you what happened, right? As people know, my family were under a... When it was all going pear-shaped, they threatened to cut one of my sister's fingers off. I've got 4 sisters. Sophie at the time was 5, Donnie was 14 or 15. So we had to go. I had a pump action, my dad had a shotgun. We went up the schools, got my sisters out. Right, my dad, my stepmum and 2 of my sisters went. My other sisters did. We got them out of town and I went after them. All right. When I got nicked, after Colton, I spoke to Colton and told him to shoot me in the head. All right. He got them off my family, yeah, and I was told to leave town. Okay, so, but the thing was, if they caught me, they would take my arms and legs off, or they would kill me. So will you make sure they kill me? Because if they don't, even if I'm in a wheelchair, I'm going to kill them in pieces of shit. My old man was still getting grief. A couple of days before they got killed, or a week before they got killed, he said he was walking up the street and somebody drove past and shouted at Ellis, you piece of shit, we're going to get you. Talking to my dad. They knew where he lived. So anyway, go forward a few months. Damon Alvin, the grass on Ricky's case. A really good friend of mine who was very close to my dad knew that Damon was getting involved with a deal that was going to happen at the Rettendon Turnpike. So Damon has told my really good friend, who I'm not going to name because his family won't want his name brought up. Damon told my really good friend about he was going to meet with Pat, Tony and Craig. My good friend told my dad. So my dad and my good friend pumped Damon for all the information. All right? The deal was, it had already happened anyway. In this field at Rettendon, there'd already been a drop. A plane had come over from Holland, dropped off some drugs, it'd been successful. I don't know how many times it'd been done. It'd been done once already that I knew of, okay? So Pat, Tony and Craig had got to know about it. They weren't part of the deal. So Damon had met with Pat, Tony and Craig and said he can sort it out. How much he could have sorted out, I don't know. Right, I didn't know about it until afterwards. Right, my dad told me what happened. He didn't tell me because I knew I wouldn't have wanted it. I wouldn't have wanted him involved, which when he told me, it fucked me head up. I was crying down the phone, and I said, basically, Damon put the deal together, right? My mate, who I'm not going to say, told my dad. So my mate and my dad, that night, they did. My dad went up there, right? So Damon's in the car, or he's in the Range Rover with Pat, Tony and Craig. As you know, Craig was driving, Tony's sitting there, Pat's in the back. They get to the Rettendon, they get to the gate where you got all the photos. Damon's got out of the car. He didn't know my old man was there. My old man knew what was going to happen. My old man had seen him pull up. He was where he had my pump action, right? So as Damon's got out to open the gate was padlocked. He's got out to open the gate. He's got pushed aside. My old man come round with a shotgun. Pat's in the back seat. He's seen the shotgun. So as the shotgun's pointed at him, he's gone like that. So the first shot took Pat in the ribs. He screamed like a bitch, right? Now, when you hear a shotgun, it's frigging loud. It's deafening. So you're in the confined space of a Range Rover, yeah? What's his name? Craig's driving. So the idea was to try and take Craig out straight away because he was driving. But Pat's seen the shotgun come round. Because as Damon got out, Pat went like that. The shotgun's come round. Pat seen the shotgun, gone like that. He got blast there. So it's bang, bang, bang. Pat got shot. Then he put one in Craig's head. Then he put one in Tony's head. They'd frozen. The sound in that Range Rover must have been freaking deafening. So Craig and Tony didn't know what happened. They were dead, one shot in the head. Then he's walked round the back of the Range Rover. Pat's on the window wasn't broke. Pat's like, he's crying, whimpering, whatever he was doing. He got shot in the head through the window. Then he walked back round, put another one in Tony's, put another one in Craig's. Damon was a frigging mess. He was screaming. He didn't know what was going to happen. He didn't know that my old man. He didn't know he knew my old man, but he didn't know what happened. So, and Damon fucked his head up, and then he's turned into a piece of shit years later and grassed up Ricky. But the reason I never said who done it, because how can I explain it? Mick and Jack, I always thought were going to get out. Everyone knew they was innocent, but I'm telling the story now because my dad's dead. He died 4 years ago, and my dad wouldn't care about me telling him. But he wouldn't care less. We got no problems. So, but he phoned me up on that morning, and I remember him. Of course, I remember him phoning me up. He phoned me up and he said they're dead. I said, "Oh." He said, "Pat, Tony, and Craig got them." I said, "What you done, Dad?" And he was just telling me. He was laughing. I just started crying. I thought, "Fucking hell, he's going to get nicked." And then I didn't sort of believe him, and I couldn't believe it. But it wasn't until later that night that it was on the radio. All day I'd had the radio on listening to the news. And it said that Pat, Tony and Craig had been killed. Like my dad said in the Rettendon Range Rover, in the Rettendon Turnpike. And he did it for me because he knew at the time I was going to get him. I had a grenade. I thought I still had my pump, but my old man had got me pumped because he knew where I buried the guns. Right? And my plan was to get them as they come out of Tony's. I was just going to shoot them in Tony's Porsche and throw the grenade through the window. But my old man beat me to it. So